Okay, welcome everybody to the July 13th Ortelius Outreach Meeting. Tracy, go ahead and take it away.
So our last meeting was before Secure Chain Con. What date would have that been? We should have had our, and I canceled the follow-up meeting because it was the week after, literally few days after Secure Chain Con, and it seemed redundant. Let me go
It
look at that
was the
date.
8th of June by the looks of it.
What day?
The 8th.
Of
8th of
June.
June.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So we canceled that one. So we haven't been on a call since Secure Chain Con. I'm trying to do notes at the same time as I'm talking. So today what I want to do is get any feedback on what everybody thought about Secure Chain Con and the speakers we had. And just remind everybody that we are pretty much done with all of our outreach activity until September starts. And hopefully by the time we meet in September, we will be in the process or have finalized the move from the CDF to the OpenSSF. We checked on the status of that. There are a few people who had some questions. I believe I've answered them and they're forward. I don't know how they do it if the working group gets an official vote. If they do, we should have seen it because we're part of the working group. So I'm not sure how that actually happens. And I don't know if they are quite sure either. But anyway, I think for our next call, we'll be talking about two things: outreach around our new status with the OpenSSF, and hopefully we'll be talking about our new badges. So if you didn't make it to Secure Chain Con, we announced a new badge called the Pathfinder, and it will be for people who are implementing open source projects into Ortelius. On that note, we continue to try to simplify the process. I'm going to work with Steve over the course of the next 2 weeks to really get it nailed down and start testing it more rigorously. So by the time we hit September, we should have an easy onboarding process for bringing in open source projects, any open source project that anybody wants to bring in. And we'll have a badging program for it. And if you haven't seen that, let me put it in the chat.
Yeah, I hadn't actually because I wasn't on the conference in attendance.
So let's see. Where is my Ortelius? Oh my. Contributor.
While you're doing that, so last week I went and updated all the documentation to reorganize it for a new getting started onboarding path. So that's out on the Ortelius docs.ortelius.io. Is where that's at, all the updated stuff. It still needs some refinement as we go through and have people go through and test the onboarding process. We may need to tweak it a little bit. And then also on my list is to do like mini tutorials of the sign up process and getting started. So like 2 minute walkthroughs of the sign up process. I'm going to focus on more more smaller videos than one longer one for people to utilize that's more tailored. So like right now we have a login process for GitHub. If you want to use your GitHub handle or if you want to use your Google, if you want to just sign up directly onto the site. So there'll be like 3 different ways to sign up. I do have to add GitLab in there as another. I have GitLab and more like a SAML Okta login process that I have to add in. But point being is I'm going to make those videos this week and next week to get those out there to accompany the documentation. So that's coming along pretty good.
Okay, so here is the bronze. Here is our new badge. I'm trying. I'm really moving slow today. Okay, so a couple of things occurred John and Zadia, we have a badging program, and we used to use something called Badgely to manage and and credential the badges, but they started charging to the tune of like $700 a year, so we decided to go at a different route.
Hmm.
So right now, the way we have our badges now, we have four levels of badges now. We have our champion badges. The champion folks are basically our primary developers, folks like Arvind, Utkarsh, Sasha. And then we have the ambassador badges, which include other people like Brian Dawson, people who write blogs, does outreach. And then we
Yeah.
have our legend badges, who are for people who have done really well in both areas. So they become legends. But now we have a Pathfinder for people who are doing just primarily they do adopt. They do not work on adoption, but they work on adoption of open source communities.
Hmm.
So we're putting this program together to encourage people to onboard open source projects. Steve onboarded Jenkins. He onboarded a part of Kubernetes, and I think the process is getting easier. So what we want to continue to build is a resource for post-release vulnerabilities for these open source projects that anybody who has their own organization could include it as part of their process. Because as we all know, there's several layers of the SBOM stack, and we want to report on all of them. So that is happening. And when we get back in September, I'll get a blog together for advertising this. We'll have some videos for it, for the onboarding process, and we'll make a focus around that. So there'll be three things in the fall that we want to talk about. One, our switch to the Open Source Security Foundation, if that goes through, which I assume it will. Two, the Pathfinder process. And then third, our SBOM analysis work, Zadia and John, that you guys have been doing, that we can integrate with. So we have to keep those three will be our focus for the fall in terms of what we should work on in outreach.
Right.
And if we look at these badges now, instead of going to Badgely, we will just do it through a pull request. Here are the previous recipients of the champion badges in all three levels. And I have that for each one, including the legends, which aren't as many. So it's harder to get there. We do have some folks who have, we have several who have gotten the bronze status, but only a few who have gotten all the way up to gold. And I'll have a page
Nice.
like this for the Pathfinders. So, it's not ideal, but it's still a way for us to certify that we actually gave those badges away instead of somebody just stealing it and saying we did it without having
Yeah.
to pay $700 a year, which it wasn't possible to do for an open
No.
source community. I was really disappointed. And then I found one that was free, and I was really happy about it. And I started creating my badges, and for each one of these, we have 3 badges. So I need 12 badges, and I got 2 of them done, and that was all I could do. I was like, okay, I got all of the legends done, I got all the ambassadors done, all the champions done, and I couldn't do any more. So I should have read the details a little closer when they said what it meant for free. Because I thought it said you could only issue 250 badges total, and I thought, well, that'll work for now. But so this is a better way. It'll last. We don't have to be reliant on an external tool. And maybe someday, if the Linux Foundation decides that they want to do a badging program for the open source communities, we'll join that. But right now, the LFX tool doesn't have a certification. They use Credly. And if you speak at one of their conferences, you get one of their badges through Credly, but we can't participate in it. So that's how the outreach program is going to work at this point, and I think that will work just fine. And I did announce this during Secure Chain Con. But I haven't done, I know that I need to do some advertising around the Pathfinder, but since we're kind of going into quiet mode, I figured we'd push this in September, and Steve will have his videos done in the next 2 weeks. So I'm hoping that is how what we can work on in the fall. Those three new announcements which will be take some time because on the SBOM analysis we'll need to get some videos and some blogs and some discussion around that as well. So, any questions on? I'm kind of wrapping up our our winter and spring and early summer activities, and setting us up for what we need to do in the fall. Does anybody have any questions on what we've done? I can tell you that we had some really good, like 4 really good blogs for our spring blogathon, but we didn't get that many. So we probably want to do another blogathon in February. It seemed that when we did a blogathon for, like, I think we did it for 6 weeks, we got more blogs because nobody could procrastinate. So I have a feeling we should do it in February when it's cold out. For most people, nobody's doing anything. That maybe that's a better time to do a blogathon. So we might want to do a blogathon in February.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna put Zadi, you and John on the hook for a blog about the integrity of SBOMs and what you guys are finding, like,
Okay.
you know, missing licenses, that whole, missing suppliers, and probably pose the question what needs to be done long term to fix it.
Right.
Okay, sounds like a
And,
plan.
What's
and I think this
interesting?
is,
Oh, sorry.
no, go
I
ahead.
was just going to comment, Stephen, Tracy. So what's interesting, I just came back. I was away on vacation for a week, but I came back and so I've been barraged by these Indian banks with something called the insert regulation, where they all want SBOMs. And they're actually now going to a deeper level and they're calling me out. Like if certain open source things don't have a supplier name or other attributes that are missing, that are naturally hard to find,
Yeah.
they're actually saying it's failing various tests internally, and they're wanting that information, which is a whole new level of analysis that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
That's interesting. And on that note, like, I'm headed to LA tomorrow to go meet with the Space Works, which is part of Space Force. It's the 6 Delta Space Vehicle Command. The colonel and a couple other folks, Colonel Rico and a couple other folks that run the cyber security for Space Vehicle Command. And they say that they get SBOMs as part of their supply chain. And I'm going to bug them about what they actually get. I'm very curious to find out what the government is getting from these commercial companies, if they get an SBOM once a year or with every release, or those types of details, and how healthy it is. So I'll pass
right.
that information along once I pick their brains about what they got
Thank you.
going on the space work side.
Right. Thank you. Well, back to the blog. Glad to help there, Tracy and Steve.
Yeah.
So, something that I think, going to get to happen through Open Group Security Forum is, and Secure Chain Con was really what got me thinking about this, is that enterprise architects are not necessarily stepping up on the issues of SBOMs and AI bombs in software that's deployed in their organizations. And I think there's an opportunity, and I'm at the early stages of this. And for those of you who do anything with standards, they take a while. Trying to nudge both the Open Trusted Technology Forum, Tracy, you've spoken to them, in Open Group, and the Architect Forum to come up with probably a white paper on why SBOMs and AI bombs matter, and what we recommend at the top level of a technology organization in the sense of enterprise architecture, chief security architect, what you do about them. And I mentioned to John that this might be something Ortelius might like to contribute
Trying to
to.
keep up on the note taking here.
And don't we have about 12 note takers on this call?
We do, but I summarize it and I'm done, and I don't have to go hunt it down later.
Anyway, so if anybody's interested in that, I'll have more to say about it in September, I'm sure.
Okay. Okay. SBOM analysis. And 3 is going to be Pathfinder. Okay, so I think we'll have quite a bit to do. Now, on the topic of if you're going to the architecture meetings, there'll be one more on Thursday. Steve may call additional architecture meetings through the summer. That's been done before. If they're working on something that somebody's getting kind of stuck on. But otherwise, we won't have anything scheduled until September. The first meeting after the first architecture meeting will be, I thought I had my calendar up. The first meeting, September, that's weird. It should be September 10th, but I don't see it there.
I'm just checking my calendar. Hold on.
I have one the 24th. But
Yeah,
there
I
should
have
be
it on the
one.
2nd, on the 10th of September. Yeah, I see it.
Oh, you do on the 10th of
I do.
September?
Yeah.
Yep, I see it too. Okay, so that's the next one. For if you're doing architecture. So the 7th would have normally been our Ortelius call, but that's Labor Day in the US. So we'll do that on the 21st. So the next meeting that we'll all be together will be on the 10th of September, where we can kind of get caught up and review what we're supposed to be working on and make sure that all of our ducks in a row for working on the Pathfinder and the adoption of or the implementation of that badge.
Yeah.
So that being said, if there is anything that we need to do to get ready for any of those 3, we'll still have to work on it over the summer, and we'll just do it through Slack.
Through Slack?
I'm sorry, Discord.
Oh, you got my hopes up.
We could always move to Slack. Everybody liked Discord in the beginning.
Put me down as the one who never liked it.
You got it. And we can certainly talk about that in the fall too, if we want to move to
Who is
Slack.
it? Either CD Foundation or one of those has got a pretty full-on Slack license, I believe. I don't know if we can tag team on it, but
We could, and that if we are getting moved to the OpenSSF, that would probably be the time to do it.
Yeah, they'll want us to be on Slack.
I would
I'm
so
a Slack
encourage
fan.
that.
Slack
So
is
I'm going to
preferred.
put down on here just move from Slack, Discord to Slack.
Should that come up at the board meeting in September as well, Tracy?
I don't know if it's a board decision. I think really the ones who use it the most is the architecture team. So I think we should ask them what their thoughts are. And I don't think they're going to care much. But my thought would be let the community decide instead of a board. But
Makes
if we
sense.
do move to the OpenSSF, I have a feeling they will want us to be under their OpenSSF. They'll give us a channel there.
Yeah, and that's what we'll we'll just, the easiest path is just to have the Linux Foundation under OpenSSF set up our Slack channel.
I'm sorry if I missed it at the start. Did you have an idea of timelines for moving to OpenSSF?
We're waiting on a vote from them.
Ah,
And they're trying to
So
figure out how to do the vote, literally.
oh, wow.
So there is I'll share the Slack channel, the GitHub channel with you. I'll put it so everybody can see what they're talking about.
Hmm.
Let me see. It's under the OpenSSF TAC. What is it under?
is it under the working group?
It must be under the Vulnerabilities Disclosures Working Group. And is it an issue?
Yeah, it was an issue, I think.
I'm going to see if it's still out there. Here we go. Here is in the chat, and I'll put it in the notes too. There is the issue number. And the one question that was out there, there was a comment that was out there from Josh Dimblin. I think he thinks that we're mainly an SBOM tool, and was curious why we would want to be in the Vulnerability Disclosures Working Group. And I pushed back and said, we're not doing SBOM generation. We're not a competitor to Cyclone or SPDX. And to be put in that category would be bad.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to operationalize SBOMs in relations to the quality of them, as well as the vulnerability disclosures that they find synchronized against OSV.dev. So I responded, so you can read my responses out there. And then
And he
there was
responded back as well.
Oh, he did? What did he say?
There's two more comments after what you said.
Why don't I see him? That's weird. But anyways, I'm hoping that we're down to the end. Both Krob and Madison, who are kind of the chairs of the group, are super supportive of moving forward. So I'm pretty confident that we will get accepted. And they were just questions, and we answered them. So I think there's no really glaring, absolute no kind of rejections from anybody.
Yeah, and the take that they had, so the vulnerability disclosure working group, one of their charter items is, how does a developer that finds a vulnerability report the vulnerability to the maintainer without going through that whole secretive process of getting that vulnerability to the maintainer? How does that happen? That's the vulnerability disclosure angle that it's one part of the charter for the disclosure group, but the other part of the charter is, how do we leverage OSV.dev to tell people that they have vulnerabilities and disclose at that level? So I think we're going to be fine based on that. And I misread the issue, Tracy, and you're right. Nobody else responded after you responded.
Okay. All right. Good. But 5 days ago, Krob's been watching this, and he said, "Hey, Volnauts, I'd like everyone to please let us know their thoughts, and if they feel that this working group would make a good home or not for Ortelius. We can discuss at our next meeting to ensure everybody's had a chance to process." And our next meeting is, so they may just want them to take a vote at the next meeting, and I think it's maybe next Monday.
Oh, wow, that quick.
Yeah, I think they meet twice a month. I don't see it. It comes up on my.
That would be timely though, wouldn't it? Breaking up for summer and then coming back for the fall, having that news.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of hoping for, is that they get it sorted out. Yeah, Wednesday the 8th was the last one, so it should be the 22nd. So, which is good. Steve and I are headed your way. Actually, we're going to Ireland on the 26th. So we will be out for 2 weeks.
Oh,
But
lovely.
we will be,
Ireland,
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We
I
will be
bet.
in, we'll be on so anybody, I'll put this out here. You have to sign into Linux Foundation to get the access to these meetings. And Zadi and John, if you haven't signed into the Linux Foundation and been part of LFX, I recommend that you do that. If we do get moved over to the OpenSSF, all of our meetings will be taken over by the OpenSSF. They're a little bit stricter than the CD Foundation in how the projects are managed. So these meetings will be brought over, and we'll have a staff member that's managing a lot of this stuff.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
and what I found is the easiest is just use your GitHub handle for the Linux Foundation account.
Okay.
So do try to show up on the 22nd for that.
Yeah, we should have bring 20 people in,
Yeah.
vote all plus, overwhelm everybody else.
Right. In fact, I
Kind
am
of
going to.
do it the Chicago way, vote early, vote often.
Yes. But like I say, I think that the main people who are heading up that group is pretty excited about this. In fact, it was really interesting actually to have this conversation because when we talked about it, there was a confusion, and it was a weird one for me. There was a bit of a confusion of why the vulnerability disclosure working group should be worried about post-deployment vulnerabilities, which kind of tweaked my brain because that's where they're the most severe. Because they've been so focused on shifting left and finding vulnerabilities at the repo level and scanning the repo and trying to sort out through source code scanning if there are problems in source code, that they don't think about when a vulnerability is reported after the software's been deployed.
Yeah.
And to be quite honest, that's where the problems lie. That's the attack surface, right? But
Yeah,
they struggled with that. They really did. They struggled with it.
John sees that a lot when he's dealing with dev teams and addressing vulnerabilities, is that a lot of the stuff is from a source code scan and doesn't actually make it into the wild. And the focus sometimes to be in the wrong place.
And it was interesting because Madison said, now that you mention it, we are making a mistake of not addressing it, and maybe we should update our charter to indicate that we want to find vulnerabilities regardless of where they are, right?
Yeah.
And for me, with the number of vulnerabilities that are coming across, if you have something that can show you if you have a critical vulnerability showing up today that didn't show up yesterday, then you want to get on the ball to fix it if it's something that you believe you need to fix. And if it's critical, you probably do need to fix it, even if it's not reachable, because you can't really know if it's reachable or not until something bad happens, like SolarWinds.
Yeah.
So I feel like we really are, in a way, disrupting industry thought around this topic.
That's good.
Great.
But in terms of what we learned at Open Source Summit and the discussions with the OpenSSF and the SBOM discussion with the DevOps people, the one thing that they said that the reason why they don't use SBOMs is they do not believe in their accuracy. So
is it a timing thing? They feel that it's sort of that argument that they become, once they're static, they're essentially out of date almost immediately, therefore, or just overall
both.
Accuracy and the ability
Overall
to...
accuracy is what, but
Sure.
There's three complaints: overall accuracy, the static nature of them, what you just pointed out,
Sure.
And they're a checkbox.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say they're not. I wish they were just a checkbox still at times, right? They're not so much anymore, and it's causing us headache.
Well, which is what we are focused on, right?
Right, right, right.
We want to make SBOMs not a checkbox by
Right.
making them operational. And
Yeah, of
yes,
course.
they're
Yeah, that's the
static.
value.
They're static now, but if you make them operational and you're constantly synchronizing against OSV.dev, they're dynamic.
Sure.
So that we're trying to solve at least two of those problems, right? And you guys are solving the third one, the accuracy, because if we can give them a better accuracy score of some sort, then they're going to have more faith in them. So exposing the accuracy and making them operational, I think, are really two key problems that Ortelius is trying to solve that will encourage more developers to then use SBOMs. But if we have teams like OpenSSF that are thinking about SBOMs as something that you just do on the development side, and they are a checkbox and you stick them in your GitHub repo in case you need them someday, unfortunately, the DevOps teams are going to go, well, then don't make me update, 500 Jenkins scripts to include SBOM generation in them because you're not using them. This is the conversation that went on for 30 minutes, literally 30 minutes. This conversation OpenSSF with this town hall we had. Finally, I had to say, okay, we have to get to another conversation. But it's an important one to have because they're being honest about it. They are pushing back on the open source project at the OpenSSF, and they're really saying two things. Your tools aren't scalable. You're not showing me any benefit, and they all just become checkboxes. And I don't have the time to update these very static workflow processes to include the generation of SBOMs. On top of that, the OpenSSF is also starting to work on deployment bombs. If you're interested in that call, which I would encourage you guys, John and Zadia would be perfect for it. Steve's on the calls. They are on Friday mornings every 2 weeks, and the last one was this past Friday. So if you sign up to LFX and you have an account there, and you sign up for OpenSSF, look for one of the working groups called SBOMs Everywhere.
Okay.
Okay.
Now that's the other working group that they thought we should be in, but we're not generating SBOMs. We're consuming SBOMs, right? We are the consumers of SBOMs, and the point of the consumption of the SBOM is to locate vulnerabilities. So that's why I push to stay in the vulnerability disclosure, so we don't get labeled as an SBOM tool.
I shall take a look. You say that's on the Linux Foundation, is it?
Yes, let me
SBOMs
see.
everywhere, something as a group.
Yeah, I'll show. Let me open that up for you guys. I'll put it in the notes, and the working group is called SBOMs Everywhere. And why don't I see it in their working group?
I can't see it myself, but
Let me look in the calendar.
Oh, they've been jumping their calendar around as well for the summer, so it may not show up.
Well, in previous week, I can go back and look at the last one. It is on a Friday. I'm not signed up for it, but I know you are, Steve.
Yeah, let me look. The last one was on the 10th.
Okay, and what does it say when you click on it? Does it say, give you a description of SBOM Everywhere SIG? Why is it not? Maybe because it's a SIG, it's not a working group, which is so weird. I get confused by what they call these things.
There's their meeting notes in the chat.
Oh, here we go. Well, we got SBOM tools and the projects. Huh. Let me see. Is there a search?
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the invite for the working group. I was going to share that for the
Try this.
SIG, I guess it's called.
Yeah. So try this link. This is the whole OpenSSF calendar.
Yeah, open that up.
So it looks like the 17th is the next one.
So I wonder, that's what I got was the open source vulnerability one on the 22nd when you gave me that link. I wonder why people don't show up to the
It's on
SBOMs.
it's on July 17th.
I see it. And then there's a link in there to the
Yeah, but you'd
Oh.
have to know. You wouldn't be able to just search around and go, oh, there's an SBOM.
No, they don't. They're
Working groups. Let's
got a
see.
Slack channel.
yeah. So if you go to their meeting notes, then you can get to the OpenSSF calendar, and then once you get to the OpenSSF calendar, then you can get to the SBOM Everywhere meeting on the 17th.
Yeah.
It's
So,
a
yeah.
clumsy way to get there, but that's how you do it.
So you can register from there. So there's a register button, and that will take you through registering. If you are not already registered with the Linux Foundation, I think that will register you.
Yep.
But it is led by Kate Stewart, who is in charge of SPDX. She's been working on SPDX for as long as I've known her, at least the last 8 years. So the goal would be here, and this is why I find it interesting for the Ortelius community, is if they could come up with an SBOM that gave us the basic information to start to track endpoints better, because this is one of our challenges. We have to use a Helm chart or the GitOps process to figure out what namespace a vulnerability might be running on. But if tools like Argo CD produced an SBOM as part of their deployment, then we would be able to use that SBOM for the opposite side. We'd have the original SBOM that's been checked into the Git repo that we could pull, and then we would have the Argo CD SBOM that we could pull. Now, that's not everybody uses Argo CD, but it's at least a start. And if they were able to get that team to start using and generating SBOMs, I believe other deployment tools would then start following suit. And it's one of the largest gaps, actually, in trying to track an endpoint and what packages are running on it, because there's not a good, easy way to get that connection. Now, we're doing it through, Steve's got one step that takes it from the Kubernetes audit log, which takes more to implement, right? There's more effort to find where those audit logs are and have Ortelius point to it. The GitOps process is easier, but it doesn't have as much information because the Helm chart only goes so far. And as we all know, in a Kubernetes environment, the inventory is always hard to track because these things are being brought up and down all the time, and it changes, right? But the namespace pretty much is pretty solid. So we can track it to a namespace pretty easy if we use the GitOps process. But a deployment bomb would be a really good tool because then it would give us information like what time it was deployed, who was the ID that deployed it, where did the deployment come from? And I'm sure Steve knows other areas that they're trying to identify that are important for auditing the deployment piece, which is something that we've talked about for such a long time. And I think we're the closest tool that does it to try to make that mapping.
I need to research more on deployed SBOMs because they sound great. They sound realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then also they haven't started on it yet, but they know that they need it is a runtime SBOM. So you
Yeah.
have the deployment SBOM, then you have the runtime SBOM, and then they have other things like the cryptography SBOM.
Oh, John's ahead of the game on that one.
So they have another working group on that part. So they got a bunch of stuff going on around it, but
Yeah. I don't know that I'm ahead of any curve. I mean, we've got some people in IBM research where we're getting these requests again, primarily coming out of banks in India, asking for C-bombs.
yeah,
But my understanding, at least, so we're working with one of the, top research guys in the cryptography group in IBM, and they're saying, he's in all the forums contributing, but there's not even a certain standard. I mean, yes, they use Cyclone DX, but it's the issue around these cryptography bombs is you can hand something over that's like low level, all the cryptography, and no, I mean, talk about a checkbox. Nobody on the receiving side, or it's going to be rare that somebody understands it, and it's only going to cause sort of a lot of concern and potential panic on both sides, right? Because the developers are going to think, oh my God, I got to fix everything. The recipients are going to say, oh my God, we have complete exposure. And it seems to be at a very young
Yeah.
area of development still.
yeah,
So what we're trying to do is figure out, okay, what can we deliver? Again, sort of what I like in your mission is what's actually useful. So it may, I mean, yes, there can be a JSON format, but also sort of to some extent as well, like a report saying, here are the areas, here are the interfaces that where there may be some concern, and here's how you're going to, here's what we recommend to do with it. But my understanding at least is there's still a lot of debate happening as to what's the right level and approach to deliver these.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot of discussions around this. And I'm looking forward to them actually, because this is we've come a long way now that we're talking about these different kinds of SBOMs.
Mm.
And as John knows, anything that starts with cryptography, it means something I would want to be into.
Oh man, it makes my head hurt. I'll send you one of these, Tracy, just for fun, and you'd probably understand it. But you're one of the few.
We need Abraham Ortelius to sort it out for us, right? The master of maps.
Yep.
All right. Well, it is 10:17. We've gone much longer. Steve, everybody hold on just a minute. But Steve, could you stop the recording?
1 second.